Hey guys, today's episode may contain sensitive themes that is not suitable for all audiences. Please be aware of what you're about to hear and that viewer discretion is advised. Hope you guys enjoy today's episode. Hey guys, welcome back to the Combine Corner. I'm your host, Camille, and I'm here with my co-host, Alyssa.
Hi guys.
And today's episode's a little more serious than our last few, so please bear in mind that. But today we're going to be talking about mental health relating to Asians and Asian American culture. So the reason why we decided to cover this topic is we feel that it's not really talked about, and or even the information that is brought up about it isn't necessarily correct, or the stigmas and stuff. And mental health is very important, and we want to make sure that people are well informed and know how to deal with it. So all right, let's get into it. So, well, the first thing is mental health is not really talked about in family households.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, especially I know in our households, it wasn't really brought up or talked about. And actually, we found some information saying that Asian Americans are 3 times more likely not to report any mental health issues. But with that in mind, because even though there's no reports, there's a higher consideration / attempts from Asian Americans. And this can stem from what they call social stigma. Do you want to talk about what social stigma is?
Yeah, sure. So, in the Asian community, it seems like we're less likely to report it because it seems like, oh, it's a problem. And normally, Asians are supposed to be all perfect and smart and oh, they know exactly what they're doing and everything. But the truth is no. And people think that if you have a problem, what is stemming that problem? Is your family not doing enough for you? What's wrong with you? And that social just stigma that's on us, makes us less likely to come out, which is really hurtful and could be detrimental to some people.
Yeah, exactly. And I know for many Asian families it's a sign of weakness.
Yeah, exactly.
And even though that's not true, that's it's normal. Everyone's human. You don't need to hold on to everything, but it's the sad reality that has been going on in the Asian community, not even just Asian Americans. I believe this is something that is also in most Asian countries as well.
Mm-hmm, most definitely. Hear about the suicide forest, and I see documentaries about students and how hard the schooling is there, and I could totally understand the pressure and the stressfulness that's they're put under.
Yeah, and I also found some information that said that Asian American college students have a higher rate of consideration and attempts than white college students, which I find very interesting, because also in my research I saw that as Asian Americans as a whole, our rates are only half the national rate in America, at least. I can't speak for other countries because we didn't look into that. So, but I think that kind of makes sense, because the age range I believe was around 20 to 25, around there, mm-hmm. give or take, which makes sense because I think that's the time that the pressure is really on an Asian American, because that's around the time that you're graduating college. That's when you really have to kick into high gear. That's when the family is really pushing you to make sure you find your job, you earn money, and that pressure can be a lot, because like
It's something new, yeah.
It's
Like being
new.
let out into the world, and like you were always like in that system, like a school system, or like with your parents or something, and like being let out is like completely something different.
Right, right. Like, um, just being on your own and trying to like actually do it. It's like a hard transition because even like I know a lot of people say like, oh, once you enter college, you're gonna be adult. Like, no, I don't. I
No,
don't think you're an
no, no,
adult.
we are not adults.
No, because like I'm sure like yeah, some people have to take that step, but not
Yeah.
everyone. It's not a guarantee that everyone will have to take that step because I do know some people who once they enter college, like their parents like they're on their own, they have to pay their tuition and like make ends meet, but like a lot of times you have that support or like something and it's like you're still having like some responsibilities, but like being out of college, having to find like a real job, like an income and then like all those pressures of like making things work, it can be hard. And like I can see why that statistic is what
Like
it
that,
is.
yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of our statistics, if you want to know where we're getting this information, we will link all the sources that we found our information from in the show notes. So if you want to look more into it, please look there. But some other things I found interesting is like what influences mental health, um, or like what drives someone to consider suicide and or attempt. Some of the things I found was like mostly like mental illnesses, and I think that goes back to like not reporting it, like you know depression, anxiety, and things like that. What else? There was social
Yeah,
factors.
social.
Yeah, social
Like
factors.
not being around the right people, or like people like the right having the right resources and stuff, like that can
Yeah,
really
or right
impact.
environment.
Yeah, that's really big, really big.
Right.
Not being put in the right situation, and just like who's with you and surrounding you, you need that like support.
Right, exactly. Like having a good support system. And then also another factor which I didn't really like think about, but like chronic medical conditions, I didn't consider that to be something that could lead to mental health issues. But but after doing more research it makes sense because you know if have these chronic medical conditions, it could be hard for the person who has them to deal with them and like you know go through it. And then with how the social stigma is, like that could also be seen as a sign of weakness
Oh yeah.
and give even further reason why they wouldn't want to like deal with it. But along with that, we also have our own experiences with mental health. So,
Who wants to go first?
do you want me to go first?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so my story of mental health started. I think it started, like, looking back, it definitely started way younger, but it didn't explode, I guess, until middle school. So, when it first came up in middle school, where it became, like, a really big problem, we had this project. We were reading the book Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and for those who don't know what that book is about, there's this scientist, I think, who has, like, the book's about, like, two people. Dr. Jekyll is, like, the perfect side of the scientist, and Mr. Hyde is, like, the evil, cunning person. And it isn't until the very end you find out that they're the same person. And it's, like, trying to show, like, how everyone can have, like, two sides of them, like, a good and evil side, per se. So the project was to talk about, like, our inner selves. And even prior to that, I think our teacher told us that it can get pretty deep, pretty intense. And it did. Like, I think I took that as an opportunity to speak the truth. I remember going up and, like, I remember, like, being so nervous. And then my friends were like, oh, you got this, Camille. And, like, everyone was, like, super happy. And then the mood changed because I started bawling my eyes out. Like just expressing how I just like felt so alone, and I felt like my friends weren't really my friends per se. Like, like you were in a crowd of people, but you were like still alone. So that's like when it first came up, and then like it got to the point where I had to see a social worker, like the school. Obviously, you break down, and I think what made it worse was I was not. I guess the people I was friends with at the time were not the best supporters, because one of my like closest friends at the time, just for them, they just felt so hurt. They're like, I've always been your friend. How could you think that? But, and that hurt even more because I was just like, I opened up about an issue I have, and you're telling.
That's so sad. Yeah, they're like invalidating you, or like they're like blaming themselves. Like
they're like, I'm there for you. I'm your friend. Like, how could you think? Like, it's not you. Like, it's just a problem I have.
Yeah.
So that like really like made it worse. And I think what was like at the time, it was like, no, even when I was a kid, I knew this wasn't right. So obviously my parents found out because the child was bawling at school, and they had to see the social worker. So they told me that it was just a phase. It was gonna pass. I was going like I had 2 or 3 more months till school was over, and I was gonna go to high school, to a new school with new people, and they thought it was just like a friend thing. But even like at the time, I didn't know how bad of a problem it was gonna get. And like all the things that would lead up to it. So I tried to believe them, and I kind of tried to make it like be over because like they wanted it to be over. Like they were done. Like obviously the first few days they were like, oh, it's okay, like we'll help you. But then like once it was dragging on longer than they wanted, it's like, oh, like this needs to end now. Like you need to stop. So I stopped because they wanted it to stop, or like I tried to hide it, I guess. Fast forward to high school, freshman year was like fine, nothing out of the ordinary. I had a new group of friends. Things were starting to look up. Then sophomore year happened, and I think what the start of it was the fact that half of my friend group transferred schools, which isn't like their fault, like they had the reason for going to a new school, like it was the best for them. So my friend group in the beginning of the year, like I don't think I had anyone to sit with like at lunch for like a few days. I had to find like new people to sit with, cuz also like that's the year we implemented like multiple lunches. So not all of my friends had the same lunch period that were left. So I was like, oh great, I had to find a new group. Which was fine, cuz then I think I found someone like right away. But yeah, like my group started like tearing apart, and then like slowly throughout the year, like small things would slowly build up. Like I think the first major event was I was at a volleyball/soccer party, because the volleyball and soccer teams at my school were pretty close, and we were playing hide and seek, and they kind of just left us, like we were hiding. And it was like 30 minutes later, and we're like, how come they haven't found us yet? And we get back, and they're like playing a different game.
What?
And they thought they someone thought they texted us, but no one did. So that was like, I know that was like a minor thing, but like I was already having these like self doubts. Like my friend group split up kind of, so that's like the first hit that happened. And then like slowly throughout the year, I just felt like I wasn't anyone's first choice. Like I was just like a convenient friend. So that just like further drove it down. And then it wasn't until, so that was like sophomore year, I believe. And then like junior year, like it got worse. Like I really started feeling like a convenient friend. Like I wouldn't get invited to certain hangouts, and So like I would be there, like I would be with them, or like I was like I thought I was part of the group, but then like they wouldn't say anything about going to these hangouts and stuff. It felt like the only time people wanted to hang out with me is because like they wanted me to drive, because like I was one of the few friends that had a car. And then eventually it just like was too much for me. Like I remember, um, I I don't think anyone knew for sure because I was pretty good at faking it. And this was like at this point like I didn't even consider my like Filipino group because like I hardly ever saw them because we only saw each other like once a month. So it wasn't like I felt like I could tell them or like my parents or even my brother. I wasn't even that close with my brother at the time. Me and my brother really didn't talk to each other that much. So I really felt like I couldn't tell anyone, and I didn't feel like I had that like close friend that I could trust. So I just like went along, and I think like it was at the point where I just wasn't happy. I couldn't I was playing soccer at the time, and I just hated going to practice. I didn't want to go. I didn't feel like I just didn't feel the motivation to go to practice or like be the captain I was supposed to be, but like I had to fake it because I knew like people were like looking up to me. People, I had like a responsibility, you know, and I just had to keep faking it, and especially because like the year was ending, so my mindset was like, you know, just get through the year and like, but it was getting hard. Like I think I was like crying myself to sleep like most nights, and it was exhausting. And then I was like with someone, and someone asked me, like I was like it was started affecting my health physically. Like I would want to like throw up like all the time because I just felt like so sick of like hiding it and like you know like so anxious all the time because I was like scared that I felt this way, and I felt bad that I felt that way. And you know because I think part of me was like I shouldn't feel this way because of like that Asian stigma. I was like I shouldn't feel this way. Like I have a good life. I have a good school. My parents are doing like all they can for me. So there was that, and I remember one game someone asked if I was okay, and I like kind of like I was like, oh yeah, no, I just stood up too fast. And then what really hit me was like when I had a panic attack. Like that's when I was like something's wrong. And it was like for a very minor thing. My car wheel got locked because I gave the keys to my brother so he could like get some stuff from the car, and he like locked my wheel. And I didn't know how to unlock my car, and I started freaking out, like to the point where I like because my brother and cousin were yelling, and like our neighbor too. I ran out of the car, and I was trying to find help, but like at that point everyone had left, like the parking lot. So I came back in, I unlocked the car, and I told everyone to shut up, and I told everyone to be quiet, and like I probably shouldn't have been driving, honestly, but luckily the drive wasn't too long and it was just straight line, but like I was like so shaken up, and that's when I realized something was wrong. So then I spent like the next few days trying to tell someone. So I was like so scared to tell. And I told someone, and then I don't think that helped, but they told me to like try to open up. I think I got called down to the social worker, which was like, I was like, okay. And they're like, do you know why you're here? And I just spilled everything. Because at that point, I was like, I've been trying to tell someone. Turns out one of the teachers noticed that I was not myself, which props to them, and I will forever be grateful for that teacher. I don't know who it is, who told, because they wouldn't tell me, but I'm forever grateful for that because that led to a series of like my parents finding out. But that first time, they didn't take it too seriously. You know, they're just like, oh, it's a problem, and they're like, we talked about this, Camille. Like, don't worry, we'll get through it. It wasn't until so that was also the week of SATs, mind you. So I also had to like study my butt off while all this is happening. So great combination. And then I think the week after, like, I remember one night I was just like in my room. I think I was doing homework. I probably was. And I like went down and like, I don't know, like I had ended up like in the kitchen, and I was like looking at looking at a knife, and like I was considering, but then I got too scared because I'm like really scared of pain. So just like ran in my room and like was bawling my eyes out. And then the next day, I was so anxious because I just felt so bad about like what I even like considered, and I like broke down crying in class, and everyone was like, "What's wrong? What happened?" Like I was suffocating. Like I literally could feel my like esophagus like closing up. And then that's when I guess my parents took it seriously, which sucks that it had to
go that far.
It had to go that far for them to fight. Like I my mom is like now kind of like a big believer of like therapy and going to a professional because she saw what happened to me. And it sucks that it had to go that far, but that wasn't the end. So I was getting help. I was going to therapy. My friends were supporting me, but a week after that incident, my grandma had died. So, like, a lot of things were going on. I had this going on, SAT week with, like, all these tests, and then my grandma died. I remember, like, going to school, like, cause my brother, cousin, and I we didn't want to be at home. We were like, I think this is part of like the Asian mentality, where you don't face your problems.
Yeah, you really don't.
Cause
like out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. I remember, we were all talking. We were all in my room. We were like, so what's the plan? We have school tomorrow. Like, what are we gonna do? Because I remember that day, like, and what made it even worse is I was like in the room when like all of it, like when she passed. And we were like, so what are we gonna do? And we all emailed our teachers, like, this is what's happening. We've all decided to go to school. Please, like, be, like, patient with us. We don't want to, like, be alone and, like, all that. And I think at this point, like, a few teachers were already aware of, like, some of the problems I was, like, dealing with. And I remember that day, I was like, it was our second period, and I came to my locker, and my brother was like in tears. And I've never seen my brother like cry like that. So I was just like, what happened? And he said that someone had said, oh, I'm sorry for your loss, and he just broke down. And I remember that too. I was like also mad about it because my parents hid everything from me. Like, everyone knew that she wasn't doing well, but I saw her like a week before, and she was like fine. She was laughing, we were talking. But so that was just like a lot of emotions going on. And then a week after that, so it does not, like, you think the story will, it does get better, I promise it does, but I think this really goes into, like, the environment, because I think the people, I thought I surrounded myself with, like, a good group of people. I did not. And I think this really, like, told me who my true friends were. A week later, like, after I told all my friends, obviously, and the first week was fine, they were all supportive. The second week, still supportive. Then, the seniors in my friend group left because it was like the time of year where they get their early release. Then the people who were left, like, they stopped. I just felt very disconnected. Like, I felt like something was up, and it got to a point where I confronted everyone single-handedly, and they all denied something was wrong. And they're like, Camille, like, you've been dealing with this, you've been having issues, like, I think it's just getting to you, like, you gotta, like, you have to stop thinking that way. And I thought it was for a while, but then it became very obvious that, like, they were lying and that they were ignoring me for sure. And there was, like, one friend that, well, she wasn't really part of that group, but she was my friend, and she, like, really stuck through with me, and she really helped me, and we talked about it, and she said, like, no, they're like that. And she's like, I didn't want to tell you that because, like, you know, that's not my business. Like, the way they treat you is going to be different than the way they treat me. I found out months later that one of who I thought was my closest friend had told everyone to stop talking to me because I guess it was too much for her, and they thought it would end quicker.
That's so stupid. I'm about to throw hands. I already know about this, and I'm still getting infuriated. Like, listen.
Yeah, but what people don't know, like, so back to the whole environment thing. That summer, so my Filipino group did not know about this for a while, like a long while. I told them way after, but that summer was also the summer that one of our closest friends was leaving for California. And so that summer we had a lot of big plans. We went to Tennessee together. We had a lot of parties together, and like because of that group and because of like our friend Justine, and I she knows this. I told her eventually. I think she was the first person I told. She made sure, she just like has this way of making sure that everyone's included and that everyone's involved. And like after this whole experience, like having that was just like amazing. She would always like text everyone, and like she's like, oh, and like talk to everyone and make sure that we all like had our parts, and like we were learning like all these K-pop dances and doing all these things. And like even when we made our like fake reality TV shows, like she would talk about how everyone like had to like do this or do that, and like she would check in on everyone. And like after all this and like having that, like it was like, wow, like how, like this is what a good friend should be. And then like even everyone else, just like how everyone was so inclusive and like making sure everyone was involved and having fun. Like I knew like my Filipino group was like that, but I only get to see them mostly in the summer and during the school year about once a month, if any. And you know, it really having them and surrounding myself with them, and also like being in therapy and talking everything out with my therapist, and her giving me advice on how to handle the situation, what to do, who, like, her professional opinion about the situation as an outsider who doesn't know anyone and who has like no emotional attachment to people. It really helped me like get through that patch. And then like I know senior year was still kind of rough. It was a little better, but still rough. But I think when things really started to look up was the summer after senior year. Most of my Filipino friends and the new group of friends I made from school were preparing for my debut for my 18th, and that whole summer was just practices and volleyball.
It was the best summer, honestly.
It was.
It really was.
And I think that really put me in a really healthy mindset for college, and it really showed me like who to like trust and want to like take care of myself. And I am glad that my family is more supportive of like mental health and like seeking help when needed. But I know my mom, and I've talked about this with my mom, that if that didn't happen, she wouldn't be that way. And she knows that too. She's very aware that if what happened didn't happen, she probably wouldn't be that way. But I mean, I told you guys, it does get better, and I'm here now making this to inform people. I'm a big advocate of like sharing my story to help others and just like informing about mental health, because it's something that happened to me. A very big thing that happened to me. So that's my story. So I guess we'll...
Wow. I didn't know all of that.
I was gonna say, I don't think
eye-opening to me. Like, thank you for sharing that. And we're sharing it to so many different people.
Yeah, I am very glad to share my full story with everyone. I think this is a story I end up telling a lot of people when mental health gets told, because I think it's
important,
yeah,
and
exactly.
It's good to share everyone's like scenarios and different stories.
Yeah, I think, plus it just shows that like I think the thing was in school, everyone saw me as that stereotypical Asian, like really smart, really athletic, prime, everything's going for her, was going places, but like it wasn't always like that.
Yeah. So yeah, that goes along with like basically mine. I mean, I'm not gonna go too into depth like yours. I don't have that good of a memory, honestly. But there's certainly like moments that stick out to me. So like yours, mine certainly started like in middle school.
Yeah.
I lived like in a predominantly like white area, and so like my entire friend group was white, and like it was it was hard being like the only Asian and like also Asian American, like being born here but being fully like 100 fully blood like Filipino. Like I was having like a hard time like who am I? And like especially in middle school you're growing up and like you're having access to so many different more things.
Mm-hmm.
So I was getting into like different things like anime, Minecraft, K-pop, like all that stuff, but like none of my friends shared the same interests as me, honestly. But like they're the same friends I had since kindergarten, like kindergarten till like I think we were in seventh grade then. And I was like, if I leave them now, I mean I love them, I still love them, but like I was thinking like if I leave them now, I'm left with no one. And this is still the time, like, because I was like interested in like boy stuff, but like during this time, like boys and girls were still separate, so like we shouldn't have intermix. So like during that time, I was just like, how do I fit in? There's no one to talk to. I was feeling like more lonely, and like who do I talk to? And like still, I really don't talk about stuff, but like that's just me. I think how I am. And then going into like high school, that's like when it really really hit, because one of like a good friend of mine, she committed suicide, and she was like one of those people that would like talk about, like she introduced me into like all like so many different things, and it was just like it really hit hard. Oh, it's so sad. And then I remember like going to like just a checkup or like a physical for like high school because I did sports, and like the doctor asked me like, "Oh, how are things at school?" And like that was like one of the moments I just started bawling out crying. Like you said, like you had like a panic attack. Like that kind of happened there too. And like my mom was there too. It was so awkward.
Was that like the time where you like your parents were still in the room when like the doctor would talk to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
and
that's
then
really
like
awkward.
afterwards, like after I was crying and I calmed down, she asked like my mom to leave the room.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, because I think I was like on the cusp, but like I could go without my mom or with my mom, but I would always go with it because I didn't know my like
You didn't know what
family's
to do.
history and stuff,
Yeah.
and like certain questions. I'm like I don't know, like I feel like she would know better. So like yeah, that would happen, and then she like recommended me to like somebody to talk to. I wasn't sure like
What level of
yeah like what exactly what it was, if it was just like if it was therapist or psychiatrist or
or
something. I don't know. I had like
yeah.
a lot of problems. I don't know, and then
But someone
yeah,
professional.
I was like, I don't know, we'll have to see. Because like, we didn't talk about like that stuff before. I never knew like what I was feeling because it was never really brought up before.
Right.
Or like even like in school, like I don't know. I like just breezed through school. I like honestly like one ear out the other.
But also like you probably didn't even know like how do you tell your mom like
Exactly. And then like that's like the first time we had a talk. She was like, "Oh, Alyssa, if you're having any problems, just talk to me. We can figure something out and stuff." And I was like, "Thank you, but no thank you." I really do bottle up my emotions. I feel like you're probably going to learn about stuff about me. And like, oh, and like the pressures of like being the Asian standard, the pressures of it, especially in school, was really hard. Like like I don't know, I said this earlier, but like I got a 3.7 GPA. I like was crying. Crying. This was before high school. Who freaking cares about grades that much? I guess I did, cuz like
I think it's
I
like
need to be perfect.
Yeah, they install it. I remember in fourth grade I would forget my like books a lot and my parents would yell at me, so it like scarred me.
Yeah, like it's just in there in my brain, like having to do perfect. And then my parents like they started like lessening up on me. They would give me more help, which was really nice. But like like I don't know why, just like little things with like really hurt me. Like you said, like being not invited to stuff, or like my parents going off about me, like about like little things, and like I would just like hold it in until like it would like just build up and build up and build up, or like I would minimize like just things, but like it while things were a problem, I would just hold them in until like people like it could be literally anyone. If anyone asked me like, "Are you okay?" I remember at tennis practice one like day, I like got hit by a ball, but it didn't even hurt that much. But like, I was holding in so much emotions.
Right, it's just like a little thing, like
little thing pushes it,
right.
just it breaks like the iceberg, and I just like crazy, just like went I like spiraled, and then but like luckily one of my best friends was there. I love her, still love her. She like would help me. Oh, I love her so much. We're literally like one of the people like we can spend like 24 hours together and like not be annoyed. Other people like I would need a break. Honestly, like yeah. But where am I going with this?
Your best friend.
Yeah, my best friend. Surround yourself with good people. I cannot like stress that enough. Like really. And then I'm like slow. I'm still not good at like expressing my emotions and stuff. But like I'm like slowly getting better. Like I found like ways to cope and stuff. I feel like that's really important. Have an outlet. And oh, there's some spicy stuff that I do not want to get into. Maybe another time, because we're definitely gonna have like to talk about this more.
Yes, I think this is definitely a topic that can always be brought up. That it's important to talk about, and it definitely needs to be heard. But yeah, no. So I didn't know that about your friends or that experience in high school where your friends.
Yeah, I don't talk about stuff. Literally,
I think
in my senior year, we had to do like my life project, or like my legacy, and like as my like doing my presentation, my friends, my best friends since kindergarten, senior year we're learning stuff about me. They're like, I didn't know that, or like you never talked about that. I was like, because I didn't want to, because
I think it's definitely
it's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard for some people.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this in a past episode where it was hard to like even share about like our culture to our friends that were not Filipino. Or I think it is like a top, especially I think because of the way we're brought up, it is hard to talk about these kind of topics to other people, where I think I definitely had some friends who it was easier for them to just like say it, and I would just be the listener. Like I would listen, and I never spoke. I think a big thing for me was like I had this mindset that I didn't want to be a burden to anyone. I don't know if you had that. I didn't want to be a burden to anyone.
Yeah, 100%, because that goes along with like I feel like the Asian standard,
or like the stigma.
Yeah,
I think it's like your parent. I think where it really comes from is like your parents do a lot for you, and they're like how they say like, oh, I'm working, I moved here to give you a better life, stuff like that, and like it as like I know they have good intentions when they say that, but it's like also low key kind of toxic, like a toxic way of guilting someone, because I don't think they really understand the
toll it takes on you.
Yeah, the toll it takes on their children, and I definitely think I had like it like influenced my way of thinking, and I think like also I like another big thing that like it was like a minor thing that was like related to like my whole thing that I was also dealing with was I wanted to be enough for my parents. Like I never felt like I was enough, and I think something that really stuck out to me that really I kept in my mind, and I still sometimes keep in the back of my head with grades, was I got all A's, right? So I got all A's most throughout high school, and we were driving, and I'm pretty sure my mom said this out of anger, not necessarily like she meant it, but it still sticks with me because it's like, why did you say that? So me and my mom got in an argument in the car, and my mom said something along the lines, oh, you might be smart and get all A's, but you're actually stupid. And I was just like, do these grades, like, not, like, I literally am getting all A's to please you, and, like, that doesn't, it's not enough. It was, like, that was, like, in my head, and it really hurt. It really, like, devaluated my efforts.
Yeah.
Like, invalidated my efforts and stuff. And I remember, like, when all my stuff was happening and I brought them up to them, my parents had denied ever saying something like that, but, like, that was so clear in my mind, but... And then, like, for them to keep still asking, like, oh, make sure you get all A's, it's like, how can I when you say it's not enough? And I don't know, it's just... there's, like, things like that where, like, they don't realize the effect it can, like, cause on their children. And how it can, like, really mess them up or stuff like that. And I think that's why it's important, like, for us to have to learn and figure it out. And, like, that's why we want to talk about it. So that way, for people who don't have others who can inform them and help them, we can provide some light for you guys.
And, like, to show you're not alone. Like, everyone is struggling with something. I actually read, like, something online. It was like, oh, our parents or, like, people, like, our elders and stuff actually have gone through, like, not gone through the exact same thing, but they have, like, struggled with some mental health or, like, similar things. But they didn't get help. They didn't, like, need anything. So that means we don't need anything. Like going along with, like, not tradition, but, like...
The stigma. Yeah,
the stigma, saying, like, oh, like, don't worry about it, like, oh, it'll blow over, like, all that stuff. But, like, no, guys.
I think, also, I'm sure, like, back then, the resources they had weren't...
Oh, yeah.
Because the research and everything. But we have the resources. I know most colleges offer some kind of free counseling or therapy. So please take advantage of that if you're a university student. Please take advantage. I know my university has free counseling / therapy.
Do you have therapy dogs? I'm sorry, that, like, totally blew.
I know they come, like, every so often. I don't, like, we don't have, like, a real dog, but, like, they come every so often at my university.
Go to those. Those are so cute.
Or, like...
I'm so sorry. They have, like, rabbits at my school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have both. So cute.
I know, or, like, yeah, so just take advantage of your free... a lot of universities now have, like, a mental health department or, like, some kind of department that deals with that. If you can go there, please take advantage of the resources that you are free, because... Yeah. If you're a university student, obviously, if you're if you're a listener who is, like, out of college now, or
there's still things
you can do. I know, or even, like, I know the current climate with COVID makes it hard to probably see a therapist in person, but there are ways around that you can talk to one online. I believe there's, like, the technology and the resources are so much more than what it was then. So please take advantage of that. We will also leave some resources in our show notes. So if you need to look into that, please do. Like, we cannot stress this enough. Please do. And for those who don't have the communities that are talking about this, and this is, like, the first time it's being addressed, know that this is, that people are there for you and that you will have your support. And maybe you have to, the first step is might be admitting that you need help. Because, like we've been saying throughout this episode, a big problem within the Asian American community is that no one's admitting or...
Yeah, mental health is going, like, unreported.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the first step to making it more normalized is you guys need to speak up and find ways to help yourselves, and then the rest, the future for everyone it'll be more normalized, so we can further help each other and make sure that we're all where we need to be and we're all in our right mindsets. So I think, is there anything else you would like to say?
I'd like to tell them, like, how I was able to cope with it, or, like, what, or, like, maybe some other thing, like, just, like, some...
Yeah, if you want to mention some of the things that you did.
So
to give others ideas if they don't want to, if they want to do more than professional help.
Yeah. So I have like a couple things because I went like in and out of stuff, but like definitely like have some way to get your emotions out. Don't let it, just make it sure it's healthy too. Don't just be like crying yourself to sleep. Even though I know you've done it, I've done it. Not okay. So sometimes you do need a good cry, but like do not make that like an every night thing. I would keep a diary and like write out stuff that like makes me mad or just like honestly like my entire day. I would, so that was like a nice thing to just get my emotions out. And then like engrossing yourself into like a hobby or like something you like I really got into like video games and K-pop and anime and like Korean dramas, and like that was really interesting. And like surrounding yourself with good people, we cannot stress that enough. Good friends, and
or just the right environment even, or maybe even find a place where
meditating,
meditate, or just like a place that like your go-to happy place.
Yes.
Like, you know, if you need a break from like life, just you go there.
And then also like health, like your physical health can also affect your mental health. Like I don't know if people like, if that's like a big thing that people can understand. Like having a good sleeping schedule. I know it's really hard, especially for us like college students or like people around that age, especially like high school. High schoolers are like
I feel like high schoolers is more stable.
True.
Like, my sleeping schedule was way better in high school than
college. Honestly, true. Because you were more on a like stricter schedule.
Yeah, it was a way stricter schedule.
So yeah, but like sleeping schedule can actually like really influence your mental health. So trying to get on like a better schedule is like really good. And then like eating right, your diet can affect it. And like I would work out just to get like release some steam. And like it's good for your body and good for your mind.
I'm pretty sure you get like some dopamine from it too.
Period, guys. You're getting drugs.
I'm getting drugs.
I don't know why.
Yeah, you're getting really the good drugs.
Your help. Your body's a temple. You have to keep upkeep. I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time physical health is more stress than mental, but just 'cause, like you also have to think about your mind. Your mind, your brain's a muscle. So, if you got exercise your muscles, you got to exercise your brain.
I think that's basically all the ways that I was able to, like...
Right, yeah. So, here's those... Hopefully, those... For you guys, those are some ways that you can help yourself. And... Please, we can't stress this enough. Please, take care of yourself. We would love for you guys to be at your very best. So... I think that's it, right? So thank you guys for listening to this very important episode. If you have any recommendations or topics that you want us to cover, please let us know on our socials. Will be linked in the show notes. And thank you guys for listening, and I hope to hear from you guys soon.